What's going on, guys? Balkan Architect here, and in today's tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create this amazing building animation or a construction animation. So we're going to be showing you how to create basically a timeline or a time plan or a schedule of how the building is supposed to be constructed, and according to that we're going to be generating a video animation that shows you a building being constructed, all of those structural elements just appearing in a space. Now this is really cool, and unfortunately we cannot do this within Revit. Revit has some basic animation options, but as far as 4D BIM and adding time to the whole construction process, unfortunately we cannot do that within Revit, so we're going to be using the Bexel manager for that. That's the software that can actually take your Revit model and take it to 4D, 5D or 6D BIM. And this is the model that I'm going to be using to show you that. So this is one of those sample projects that comes with Revit. This one has only been updated. As you can see over here, if I hover over this green thing on the roof, it's actually a link. So this is a link to the MEP linked project. And if I orbit around, go underneath, and if I try to select one of these foundation elements, as you can see, it's a link as well. So the architecture model is this thing, so that's why we can actually select the whole curtain grid or the walls or stuff like that, the doors. But the whole construction part and the MEP part, those are two separate linked projects. That's just what we need when we're loading stuff into Bexel in order to create good selection sets. But more on that when we get to Bexel. First, how do we get from Revit into Bexel Manager so we can create our 4D animation? Well, for that we need to export it, and for that we have a plugin. So I'm just going to go here to the add-ins, and as you can see, I've got this published to BX3, which is the Bexel Manager file format. And if I just click on this, I can export this 3D model into a Bexel format. Now this can be easily downloaded and installed, as well as the Bexel Manager. I'm going to be leaving some links in the description of this video, so check that out and just make sure to download it so you can try this on your own. So I'm just going to hit start over here and wait for a second while it exports. And once it is done with the publishing process, now you can here select where you want to save it. So I'm just going to go to my desktop and just save it as a demo sample. Just hit save, and that's it. Now you can close out of this, and we can minimize or exit out of Revit. Now here's that file that I created, and this is the Bexel Manager. So I'm just going to start the Bexel Manager first and then open this file as a new project. So let's wait for a second for it to load. Once you're in the Bexel Manager, you can go over here to New, just to start a new project, and for the name, let's just call it Project 1. And for the version, let's say this is the first version of this project, and here for the file, now we have to choose that file from the desktop, so just go to desktop, here's our demo sample, and notice the extension BX3, that's the file format for Bexel. Now if I just hit OK, it's going to be opening up that model in Bexel. Once we are here in the Bexel Manager, as you can see, here is our window, and if we orbit around, this is our model. So it loaded that model in. Now, if you want to learn more about the Bexel Manager and just a quick overview of all of its features, I suggest you check out a previous video I did on this software a few weeks ago. So the link will be in the description as well. So check that out if you want to see what are all of the capabilities of this software. Now, I'm going to be showing you now how to create that 4D animation. And for that, before we get into the animation part, first we need to set a timeline or some sort of a Gantt chart. But before we get into that, we need to create a selection set or multiple selection sets. Now these selection sets are going to help us so we can kind of sort different sets of elements, building elements inside of this model, and then we're going to be using those sets so we can add time to them. So we can say, okay, so all of these columns, for example, that are on level 1 should be built from day 1 to day 5, and then we should move on to the floors on the second level or something like that. So you get the point. We need to create these selection sets, and then from selection sets we go into our timeline, and then from the timeline we're going to the animation part. Now here we've got all of these elements that are here in the model. You can see them over here in the Building Explorer. So if I scroll beta here, so you can see maybe I can select the roofs, and here we've got a roof element. Then we can go maybe to, I don't know, let's find walls. Yeah, now it selected all of the walls. So all of these elements, you can select them and then it will select them on the model. But for selection sets or creating customized selections like this, you need to go here to selection sets. Now, once you're here, let's first create a folder where we're going to be grouping all of our structural selection sets. So for that, go over here, right click, and let's go with the new selection set folder. Now the name of this folder will be structural. So I'm just going to type that in. And once we have our structural selection set folder, we can right click on it and go here to new selection set. So you can create it from rules, or even here you've got some selections, so maybe you can even select elements on screen and then create a selection set. But I prefer going with rules because you can actually set rules that the Bexel manager is going to be using. So even if you update your Revit model, it's going to use those same rules to sort everything out to your liking. So here, first, I'm just going to check this at building 1, and here I'm going to go with element query. Now I can search for some sort of a rule that's going to be searching for elements. So first, let's create for example, for columns. Now first I'm going to set a work set name. In Revit, all of these elements were modeled within some sort of a work set, because this is done as a model, as a linked file. So now I need a work set that has ST in the name. That means structure. So I'm just here going to search for work set. So just type in work set, and here we have work set, and we've got work set name by text, so that's what I'm going to be using. And here for the value, I'm going to add contains and then just type in ST. So it's going to contain ST in the name of the work set, and that's just going to allow me to group all of the structural work sets within this. So just go OK, and here we've got that. Now just go OK again. And now we need to create our new selection set, and here we just need to set the name. So the name will be columns. And here for the rules, we've got work set name contains ST. Now we need to add another rule, and for this rule, it needs to be something that's going to differentiate columns. And for that, I'm just going to go here to new rule, and let's make it a new rule. So just go to insert, and let's search here for something that's going to help us group everything by columns. So for that, maybe use category of columns. So let me just type in category. Okay, text category. Here it needs to contain the name column. And once we have this column category, type in OK, and then go again OK. So this, as you can see, intersects everything that's over here in this work set ST. So the work set ST has around 2000 elements, and this just creates kind of an intersection where we've got 379 elements that contain the name column, but some of those columns might be architectural columns and some might be structural columns. So it's only going to isolate all of our columns that are within the structural or ST work set, and here we've got total elements, and there's 203 columns within this. And just to see what you have done with this work set, if we go back to this Building Explorer, scroll up a bit, and let's turn everything off. So as you can see, our model is gone. And now if I go here to selection sets, open this structural up, and here we've got columns. And if we just turn on columns, as you can see, we've only created a selection set that contains all of the columns. And again, as I said, the best thing about this is the fact that if you just go back into a Revit model, make some adjustments, maybe you have to add additional columns because the structural engineers say so, then if you add those columns and you load everything back into the Bexel manager, this selection set is going to be updated. So it's way better than just going and manually selecting all of the elements. I just decided to speed this part up as it is a bit repetitive, so we need to create these selection sets for rest of the construction elements, such as foundation, floors and beams, as well as stairs. So I'm just adding these rules, and you can add either one or more rules, and then you basically get these kind of elements or element selections, and then you can intersect between that. And here we're usually intersecting between a work set and a family name or a family category, so we're basically getting what we want for this particular selection set. In this case, we're just finishing all of the construction elements for this project. So again, we're just doing the columns, foundation, floors and beams, as well as the stairs. So now we can turn on and off these selection sets just to see what we created. So if I go over here to concrete walls, we have those, then our floors and beams, the structural ones, then going to foundation. Here, as you can see, now we have the foundation. Then let's turn on all of the MEP elements. Now, as you can see, this is all of those MEP pipes and installations, all of that stuff. And finally, finalizing it, let's turn on the architecture, and here we go. We have the same model, but now it's divided into selection sets that we can use to create our time plan. Okay, and to do that, we need to separate everything into these zones. So let's go to the zone editor. So here you need to go to the schedule tab and find the zone editor. Now this allows you to create some sort of zones where you're going to be actually just taking all of these selection sets and saying which sort of works or which sort of elements will be constructed first, and then after that you need to construct something else, and then finally you do all of the finishing touches. So let's go here with a new zone and let's create a zone for all of the structural stuff. So let's just type in structure, hit OK, and here we've got this structure zone. Now to load in elements or these selection sets, you just right click over here, go new item, and then go with linked. This is of course going to be linking everything up. So again, if you mess something up and you find out that you need to make some changes in Revit, of course you can go back into Revit and then just reload the project, and all of those selections and links and everything will be updated, so you don't have to go through this whole process once again. Now let's just check all of these structural elements, so just make sure you check all of them, go OK, and here we go. So if I just go scale to fit, or maybe I can actually zoom this in. Okay, so we've got all of these elements or selection sets, and now we need to arrange them in a way that is going to work for the construction. So of course I'm not a planner, so I don't really know the exact way of doing this. This is just going to be a simplistic, intuitive way of creating this plan. So of course, naturally, let's start with our foundation, and then move to concrete walls as well as columns, and then maybe after that go into floors and beams, the structural ones, and then let's go to the stairs. So I'm just going to make these connections right now, and as you can see, it works with a node system, kind of like Dynamo, so it's very easy and intuitive to work with. And of course here you can kind of make adjustments for the type. So this is start to finish, so when this here floors and beams is finished, the stairs will start. That's why it says finish to start. You can go start to start, so both of them start at the same time, then start finish. When the one starts, the other one finishes, or finish finish, they both finish in the same time. So I'm just going to go here with finish start. So when this one finishes, this one starts. And you can also add some sort of a lag time behind that. So if you maybe want to finish all of the floors and beams, and then concrete needs around 10 days to set, you can add a lag of 10 days, and then you can start off with the stairs. So once we have this one, let's now do a couple of more. So let's go here to new zone, and let's do the main works zone. Now the problem with this, first let's save changes of course to this existing zone. Now let's do the main works, and hit OK. And here for the main works, if I go here to new item and linked, I can select the structure, but it's actually a folder, so it's going to load all these in separately, and I want to have one like structure as I have here for architecture. So for that, let's create another selection set first. So let me close out of this and go over here, and let's create a selection set out of a selection. So just go like this, select all of these elements, and maybe you can turn this off just to see what we selected. So those are all of the structural elements, and then just go here to new selection set, and let's call this one structure works. Hit OK, OK again, and here we have another selection set. Now if we go back into zone editor with main works, if I go here new item linked, I can select these three categories now, or selection sets. Now I can go OK, and here we go. So we can maybe say that first we're going to be doing all the structural works, and then we can do the architecture as well as the MEP in the same time. And one more way of determining what goes first and what goes second is, of course, the levels or floors. You're not going to start from the roof. You're always going to start with the foundation and then move your way up to the roof. So here I'm just going to go to new zone, and first, of course, let's save changes to the last one, and here for the final one, let's call it levels. Hit OK, and for the levels, right click, new item, linked, and here instead of selection sets, let's find building stories, and just select this building one, that's the one that we're working with, and just hit OK. And as you can see, the Bexel manager is really great at this. It actually recognizes that all of these levels are we start with a sub level, then the entry level, then the second level, third level, and the roof. So let me just minimize this and hit save. Moving on, we're almost getting to our animation. Now let me just close out of this, and now we need to go to the creation template. Now this is really important to create our Gantt chart. It's going to rearrange the hierarchy. So let's just go to new, and let's call this template. And for the creation rule, let's go to new and reference children based, and here you can go to zone items. And first, let's load in the main works. So let's go start with that. Then let's load in our levels, hit OK, and let's just finally load in our structure. So this is only going to determine which of these is going to appear first in the Gantt chart. And it's going to be like this. And of course, you can change the hierarchy by using these up and down arrows. Now, I'm just going to go OK and close out of that. Now it's time to move on to our Gantt chart and then generate our animation. Let's now go to the schedule viewer. So you can go over here, schedule viewer, and let's create a new schedule. So I'm just going to click here for new schedule, and for the name, let's just go with schedule 1. Okay, so once we have this schedule, let's immediately go to the Gantt chart. Now we have this Gantt chart over here, and before we can actually view it, let's add our template, the one that we created here on schedule creation template. Now to add that, you need to right click, go to new task, go to the creation wizard, and once you're here, just go here to template, load, and load the one that we already created. So here's that one. Just go OK. And now let's expand this panel a bit, like so. Okay, so here's our Gantt chart, and if you can't see it right, you can expand it either manually like this, or just go expand all, and now it expanded the whole Gantt chart, and we can go here to scale to fit. And if I just scroll down here, as you can see, we have all of our activities over here, and they're all manually set, or when you just create this, they're all generically set to a certain time, but you can actually select it and kind of change the timing of each part, and as you can see, the rest of the schedule will update automatically. So if you go over here and say maybe for these columns I need a bit more time, I can extend that, and then the whole thing will automatically update to accommodate for that time difference. You can also load in or import and export schedules as well. Okay, so once we've done this, let's create our animation. So for the animation, let me just bring this down a bit again so we can see this thing. That's the important part. And now let's go here to schedule animation. Now here we need to just click update in animation, and now we're ready. So if I just hit play over here, as you can see, it starts modeling the building. But let me stop. If I zoom in, yeah, here you can see we've got our elements and the building is being, well, it's being built. But it's all being robotic, and I don't really like the flow of this animation, so I'm going to make some changes. So I'm just going to jump here to the options, and for the options, let's change the interval to, I don't know, something like hourly, so it's going to be a bit quicker. And for duration, just to make it a bit quicker, let's lower it down to 30 seconds. Just go OK. And let's bring this back and let's play it again. And there you go. Now our building is being built. So yeah, there you go. That's how you create this building animation using the Bexel Manager and a Revit project or several linked Revit projects. So I hope you have enjoyed this video and I hope you find this useful. And if you want to download the Bexel Manager and if you want to start learning how to do something like this, well, check out the links in the description of this video. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thank you for watching and I'll see you with another tutorial tomorrow.